Hey everyone, welcome back. We are now on the third episode. I am repping my high school's wrestling team sweatshirt that I thrifted because it is a bit gross outside today, a bit rainy, and honestly, I just want to be comfortable. You don't have to always appear a certain way in order to be a professional. The knowledge is in here, I promise you. The second thing is I do have my laptop open, so you might see me kind of looking over to the side because my working memory sometimes isn't the greatest, and I do need certain cues in order to look back and remember what I wanted to say, especially for lengthier things such as this. So if you see me averting my eyes this way, just trying to remember that's exactly what I wanted to say. So yeah, so today I was thinking we could go into 5 pretty commonly overlooked symptoms, signs of ADHD in women. I think it comes as no surprise that women have either been misdiagnosed with oftentimes anxiety and depression, overlooked for some of these things, or have been seen, I should say, as such high performers that ADHD is completely overlooked. But that doesn't mean that they're not suffering in silence or dealing with some of these things in silence. So I will say these 5 things and see how it lands for you. If you are thinking, hey, maybe this sounds like me, if this video has reached you or someone has shared it, seriously consider it. Consider getting evaluated, getting some help if you feel like really struggling for a while, getting medication. So again, this is not for diagnosis. This is just as a, hey, maybe I'm dealing with this kind of thing. Okay, so let's get into it. 5 commonly overlooked signs of ADHD in women. One of the first ones I would say is a huge one that I've now started to recognize is emotional overwhelm and this concept of rejection sensitivity. A big thing with ADHD is, yes, we talk about dopamine, norepinephrine, but we also need to talk about executive function. And I think when we talk about executive functioning, we're thinking about things like working memory, time management, organization skills, metacognition, things like that. But what is often overlooked is the emotional regulation piece. And this is, I'm starting to see now, one of the biggest signs of ADHD, particularly for women. So really struggling with criticism, for example, any kind of perceived rejection, any type of commentary that has been said, oh, you're sensitive, you're dramatic. Oftentimes, yes, maybe you are sensitive. Maybe you do take things pretty seriously, or maybe you are a little dramatic. But what is really happening is that you're struggling with that executive functioning piece, the emotional regulation. Maybe you have struggled with friendships, relationships. Maybe you've been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, but this is, it's not borderline personality disorder. It's a genuine struggle that I think a lot of people have, but oftentimes it's not seen as ADHD for some reason. It's seen as all these other things, like, again, anxiety, depression, borderline, bipolar, what else? Even complex PTSD. Not saying that those things can't align with ADHD, they can be comorbid. But I think when you start to look at a pattern of your maybe past behaviors, some of these other executive functioning things, you start seeing that maybe it's not that, if you get what I'm saying. So that's the first one, emotional overwhelm and rejection sensitivity. So being called dramatic, sensitive, taking things too seriously, being reactive to things, is just overall big overwhelm of emotions that you might be facing. The second one would be chronic internal restlessness. So what I have written is, unlike hyperactive, right? Unlike a hyperactive person kind of bouncing off the walls, women will have this like internalized hyperactivity. So racing mind, mental chatter, and feeling as though you can't truly relax. What does that sound like? Anxiety. No, but in all seriousness, this is where women are often misdiagnosed with anxiety when there's something else happening. Because you have this flood of, oh, I have to think about this, I have to think about this, that thing. It's often seen as anxiety or even depression because you can't stop thinking about, but actually a hyperactivity that's happening. So again, often misdiagnosed. Another one, my third one here, people pleasing. and masking. So if you remember from a young age, feeling as though you are going a little bit too above and beyond to make other people feel comfortable, or feeling as though you have to wear this mask in order to be accepted by peers, by friends, so hiding this like emotional overwhelm or rejection sensitivity, right? When you were younger, you might be looking at ADHD. So why? Because, well, women are socialized a little bit differently. So we might develop some coping strategies that could be pretty exhausting. So things, again, like in order to fit in, mirroring other people, over apologizing, almost like obsessive list making, just constantly doing the most in order to not be perceived in a negative way. Again, what does this sound like? Anxiety, depression, but it's more than that. It's more than just anxiety and depression, especially if you are dealing with some of these other symptoms where perhaps you are really struggling with time management, or really struggling with procrastination, or really struggling with keeping and making friends. All of this, it combined, right? So now we have number 4. I'm gonna drink some water because I've been yapping. Okay, so we have number 4, and that is hyperfocus on interests and neglecting responsibilities. So with this one, have you ever lost focus, lost hours to a specific project that you've been working on? I'm talking you started something, say crocheting project, pottery, such as myself, cooking, photography, reading, and literally have forgotten to eat, right? You might be looking at an ADHD diagnosis, but then at the same time being able to hyper focus on some of these things, but really struggling with neglecting certain responsibilities. So you're able to put so much effort and energy into things that you really care about, but then really struggle with things that you're just kind of like, about. So mundane things, house chores, setting up that doctor's appointment, maybe that bill that has gone unpaid for weeks, maybe months. So oftentimes this could be perceived as laziness, and I'm sure if you've made your way here, you've probably heard all over the internet, you're not lazy, you're not this. You aren't lazy. That there is a fact to that. You're not lazy. It's just that sometimes it is really hard to get yourself to do the things that you know you need to do. You know you need to do these things. You know it, right? I know it. But it could be so hard to get up and go do those things. And that's why it's so important to put certain systems into place, or even try out medications if this is something you're struggling with. So prioritizing is an executive function, which you might be looking at struggling with, right? Procrastination, that is also a executive dysfunction, right? So if any of this so far is resonating with you, just continue to think about it and consider what you might possibly be looking at. The 5th one, and I think that this is one that really needs more attention, and why it presents so differently with women. And it is hormonal amplification of symptoms. So sometimes this could be seen as PMDD, where you are struggling with like your cycle, how your cycle may appear. So your phases of your cycle might be quite intense here. Why? Because ADHD symptoms in women will often spike drastically before menstruation, during premenopause, and postpartum, because of these hormonal changes that happen, especially when you're looking at estrogen dropping. So higher symptoms of anxiety may appear. Some of the executive function related issues might be heightened during these time frames. What we also see is that sometimes what will lead to a younger girl, like a preteen, getting diagnosed with ADHD is because she's hitting that time frame in her life where she's just about to start her first period, and those hormonal differences, those changes will impact her body so much that the emotional overwhelm, rejection sensitivity will increase, working memory struggles will increase, procrastination, overall fatigue, all of these things will increase during this time. So this is really overlooked, like really overlooked. And sometimes this is exactly how women maybe in their 40s, 50s, as they're hitting menopause will finally get their ADHD diagnosis because of these struggles, because someone is finally going, well, you've been struggling with procrastination, time management, executive functions like emotional regulation as well, metacognition, all of these things. You've been struggling with them for so long, but they've been exacerbated during this time frame. And they go, oh yeah, this now makes sense. And well, one, that was the end of the list. But two, if you're struggling with any of these things, like I've been saying throughout this video, really consider at least a rule out of ADHD, because it really might not be anxiety, it might not be depression, it might not be bipolar or BPD. Go to a competent therapist, psychiatrist, doctor, and if those people are saying, hey, I don't know if I could diagnose you with this, or I don't know if I'm qualified, or if I know enough to do this, that's okay. Ask them for a referral. Ask them to give you something to point you in the right direction, because you deserve to know what's happening with you and to get some answers, because there are ways of dealing with this. There are tools. Yeah, that is all I have for today. I hope you found this video helpful. And just as a side note, I am going to be doing a webinar on March 17th. It's free, it's 30 minutes long, and it's specific on executive function, but emotional regulation. I will go into a little bit of depth in it, nothing crazy, but just to give you a little bit of an overview, because I think this information is so important. And I am really tired of girls and women not getting the answers that they need. So you could find that information on my website, on my Instagram. And I hope to see you there. Anyone can join within, the world, really. The only issues that would be posed is if you seek therapy from me. I can only provide therapy in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. But other than that, anyone can attend this. So I hope to see you there, and let's continue to work on finding answers and healing one another. Take care. Bye.